Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our panel discussion today about our interesting subject, which we all want to learn about it, which is related to de-risking the investment, especially when we are talking about entrepreneurship ecosystem. Today, I'm grateful to have a very unique leaders in the innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem where they believe in ideas. And first, I want to start by introducing my guest here in the panel. I will start with Dr. Ibrahim Almojel. He is the founding partner of Khwarizmi Holding. Dr. Abdulrahman Olayan, the founder of managing partner of Beta Lab. And also Mr. Abdulaziz Alomran, the CEO of Impact 46. And also Mr. James Rhee from the CEO of the SparkLabs. And they have a great work within Saudi Arabia through the first acceleration in Saudi Arabia. They get the license here from South Korea. Also, Mr. Shin from Shorooq Capital as the founding partner from Shorooq Partner. As you know, today we are witnessing a lot of change when we are talking about innovation and entrepreneurship sector. Saudi Arabia today ranked in the first ecosystem development when we are talking about entrepreneurship. From that, this impacted the kind of investment opportunities and at the same time, the kind of support services provided from the government entities, especially when we are talking about the kind of enablement program that enable high emerging technologies, especially in biotech, deep tech, agri-tech. All these programs impacted the number of investment today we have. So we raised the high number of the number of deals, and we have it in the MENA. We ranked number one. So today we have more than 1.3 billion US dollar invested in our startup, especially when we are talking about the Q3 from 2025. And when we look to the size of these investment, we look to these investment from which stage usually our investor invested in. It's not focused in one stage, for example, in early stage. Today we have a unique collaborative work from our VCs, especially to support our startup. So when we go to the growth, today we have more than 300 raise in the investment in startup and growth stage compared to the last year. And also in the mid stage, it's raised to 265. And when we go to the early stage, it's around 53% compared to the last year. Now we go to our question for our panel, which is very interesting, and we want to learn more from our panelists, which is how can de-risk our entrepreneurship ecosystem attract smarter investment. So I will start my question to Dr. Ibrahim. As you have an experience from private and government sector, where you witnessed a lot of changes, especially when you worked in SIDF, then you lead Khwarizmi Holding. From your perspective, what risk sharing or blending finance model can truly mobilize private capital while maintaining ecosystem stability?
Thank you, Afnan. It's a privilege to be among you here today. It's always a privilege to be in the FII. It's difficult to comprehend this is the 9th FII. I mean, next year will be a decade of FII, so we're very proud of this. I think when we think about de-risking, majority want, especially when I was in the government hat, they want to de-risk as in to cancel the downside. And I think the challenge with that, you lose what's best about the private sector. What's best about the private sector is the agility and the ability to find opportunities and address the risk. If we take it out, there isn't a real point. So the best form of blended finance, in my mind, is to enhance the upside, not to protect the downside. So you bring in to the most interesting areas, but you help by saying, if that's risky, okay, I'll make it worthwhile for you. If it's risky, I will enhance the upside. And there are many ways to enhance the upside. We've seen initiatives where they come for the GP-LP structure, they come as LPs with the upside given to other private LPs.
Yeah.
So you can invest with a fund knowing that the government LP will give you the upside, or will give you the co-investment rights, or will give you other things. This does not take out the risk, which is very important to make sure that the private sector is looking at the opportunities that are worthwhile. So if I want to summarize, the goal is not to take down the downside or cancel the risk. The goal is to enhance the upside to make it worth taking that risk.
Thank you, Dr. Ibrahim, for your input. Now I want to move to Mr. Jain. As you build a lot of ecosystems, especially from SparkLab, from your perspective, how do you see ecosystem maturity in influencing investor confidence? Also, and what role does consonant support play in de-risking early-stage venture globally?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks again, Afnan, as well, for inviting me and having this incredible panel to discuss this topic with. I agree with that comment that the entrepreneurship is driven by risk-taking. So you don't want to get rid of people who want to take risk. So that is one side of risk. But I think there's another side of risk that ecosystems definitely can help mitigate, and ecosystems are necessary. Because, quite honestly, it's just a fact. Startups are a tough investment. The success rate of startups, entrepreneurship, is actually very low. But if you look at that, the reason that startups many times are not successful, it's not because they don't have good ideas. They could be very successful in the marketplace, but there are periods in their life cycle, and everybody goes through this. There are just periods in your life cycle that you face certain challenges. So it's at those periods, what can the ecosystem do to support companies during those life cycle periods? Not to get away from risk, because you have to take risk if you're going to be an entrepreneur, but there are some that the ecosystem must set up. So maybe very quickly, one is, and I think the kingdom has done an amazing job on this, they've learned very quickly on how to set up kind of the soft landing, the infrastructure for startups. And our friend Ibrahim over at the NTTP has done a fantastic job of giving infrastructure to startups. But in addition, there have to be systems in place in the later parts of the life cycle. Let's say you get started, you get funding. Every single company is going to run out of money. Yeah. So do you have an infrastructure in the country in order for the next stage of financing? So like a Series A financing. And that's a very tough challenge for countries to build. The next one is, do the startup incubators, do they actually spend time helping their companies, right? Do they follow them, help them with their business plans, their other needs? Do they take them across borders when they need to get help? Do they help them set up ecosystem and partners? So I think the ecosystem is critical for de-risking, not the risk of taking the risk on the business opportunity, but de-risking challenges that they're going to face throughout their life cycle.
Thank you, James.
Yeah.
From that, I move to Dr. Abdulrahman. As you already last year, you announced the Beta Lab Fund, where you invest in deep tech companies, especially when we talk about you invest in VCs that invest in these companies. From your perspective, what kind of enablers today we need in the ecosystem, from your perspective as a VC?
Thank you, Afnan, and it's a pleasure to be here. I agree with Dr. Ibrahim and Shin about the nature of entrepreneurship and investor and VC who contribute to the industries. They are risk taker endeavors. When we are looking at the Saudi ecosystem in particular, I think for investors they need clarity and predictability, clarity in the direction, which we have with the Vision 2030, and we have also strategy for AI, national strategy of AI, and national strategy of biotech, and others. So this gives us the clear direction where Saudi is going. We need also predictability in the regulation and the regulation environment. And I think we came long way on this. I think one area that we need to work on as an ecosystem is talent fluidity. So talent that can work in academia, industry, and a startup, and moving without any penalties. I think this are an area that maybe we need to work on it and as an ecosystem. investor, we need to see more quality opportunities coming out of the ecosystem. I don't think we are at that level yet, and this is why most investors are looking for opportunities, especially in deep tech, outside of Saudi.
Thank you, Dr. Abdulrahman. Now I move, as you mentioned, to as an investor, you decide when you invest in the company. So, Mr. Abdulaziz, when you see a talent or a high potential entrepreneurs, when you decide to invest in these entrepreneurs, what is the signals? So you want to get to put your capital in his business.
Thank you, Afnan, for the question, and thank you for the opportunity and inviting me to speak at the FII for the second time. I feel honored and privileged. Thanks a lot. Going back to your question, what we look for in an entrepreneur, I think the most simple way to explain it is optimism communicated with openness and integrity. I think having a compatible value system between you and the founder is really important for you to get for you to have mutual objectives and reach your investment goals, essentially. I'd also like to also share some like well-known secrets, if I may, around how to spot an opportunity. Although us at Impact 46, we receive more than 2,000 pitches a year of new business plans and business ideas. Ironically, 90% of the investments we make are actually investments we proactively sought and we went and looked for, and not reactive or pitches we received and reacted to. So it tells you that for you to find the right opportunities, you really need to know what you're looking for, and just work hard on trying to find it. There's no easy way. I mean, there isn't an easy way to solve the issue.
Thank you, Mr. Abdulaziz.
Thank
Now
you.
I want to move to Shane. Shane, in Shorooq Capital, you develop a MENA app where you develop an Asian network, has proven how regional collaboration drives resilience, and also what can Saudi Arabia learn from your experience to make our ecosystem more globally connected and at the same time attractive for international VCs.
So first of all, thank you for having us. First of all, I just wanted to quickly talk about de-risking the ecosystem through another angle. We talked about founders, investors, also a little bit to the regulators. I do think we need to talk more about the clients. Our region, we have B2C business model and B2B business model. B2C, we know how to build them. B2B, which is we're seeing an uprise on the B2B side. However, I don't think we talk enough about the customers or parties who are actually willing to work with our B2B startups. And I think if you compare to the US, which is the king of software, the reason why US, all these deep tech B2B companies flourish, companies want to pay for these services. I don't think we're still there yet, and I just wanted to say revenue, which is B2B revenue, is the best form of funding. It's non-dilutive funding. So if we can talk about that as a way of de-risking the investment, I think it's great. You mentioned about Asia. Finally, for the first time the last few years, so much Asian capital, founders and companies, and hopefully clients are expanding to the region. I really think this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity where all of us have only been looking into the West. Now Asians are looking into the Middle East, and of course Saudi has been the big factor of navigating the balance between the West and the East, and I really think it's only going to amplify 100x from here. Asia also has so much capital, China, Korea, Japan, and many other countries. If we can grab them to the Saudi ecosystem, we're going to see another 100 unicorns, and we'll really see $100 billion companies.
So what do you think we miss in our ecosystem so we can attract those high potential entrepreneurs?
Yes, I do think we're still very local. Like we're opening up, but still very local. And for Asians to suddenly start to invest here, we do need to have that connection. You know, we are still competing globally with the US investments, Europe, India investments, even other Southeast Asian investments as an emerging market. So for us to really prove ourselves that we're unique, yes, as Dr. Ibrahim mentioned, we have to really think about the upside. We don't want to be a question on the market size. I truly believe we're a large market size. But I'm sure everyone who comes here says, what's the market size? people only look at the past, but we want to look at the future. And we really want to prove that our companies here can be 10 billion, 20 billion, which is still very rare in other markets.
Sorry, can I just make a comment
Yeah,
about something?
of course.
Because I think he said something that's very interesting, which I completely agree with. If you're a B2B company, there's a very, not easy, but a very direct way to support B2B companies. If you look at the US, so everybody here probably knows Y Combinator. So they just have a scale, the size, they have like 6,000 portfolio companies. And my son is actually funded, he's a YC company. His largest source of revenue as a startup is YC companies. So they definitely cross-fertilize. They provide B2B companies, revenue for each other. And so I think that would be a very powerful model if we could set something like that up in this region. So Saudi Arabia is becoming very international. And you were talking about international kind of cross-border ecosystems, right? And that's something SparkLabs is trying to do. We're taking Saudi companies to Korea. We're doing it actually over the next 6 weeks. But I think if we could create something similar to what YC has done, but cross-border and support B2B companies, I think that would be very powerful.
Yeah, thank you for sharing
Yeah.
this example
I think
for
that's
the
a good idea.
program.
Yeah.
Today we have like a collaboration with MSS, the Ministry for Small and Medium Enterprise Ministry in South Korea, and Khwarizmi for supporting and building these cross-border bridges between two countries, and the SparkLab collaborating with MSS to host this program. And this impacted the quality of companies we support, and also our VC play a big role in investing and supporting and validating the readiness of these businesses for our opportunities, and also with collaboration with our main enablers within the ecosystem from Giga Project today we have, if they will find the ready opportunities for them or not, or if we need to design a special opportunities for them. From my panelists, I want to, before moving to how we make scalable startup to be more attractive for you as a VC, what do you want to add for the part of ecosystem? If there is something you want to add before I move to the second part of the panel.
I think the second part is about exits, and if I'm not mistaken, and capital markets. Yes, I can start off there. I think we came a long way, having multiple listed, multiple IPOs of technology companies. We already have sizable listed tech companies. I think that already started a wave of acquisitions and activities, M&A activities by these companies. I think the CMA is doing a really good job in removing any hurdles that will attract more international investors and more international funding. Most recently, the regulations that were published by the CMA and went into public consultation around removing the QFI regime and opening our capital markets directly to foreign investors. I think that should go a long way in really diversifying our investor base and attracting a different pool of capital that we didn't have before. I hope we just continue the path we're on, and we'll see multiple exits. And it just needs, I mean, if you look at where we came from just a few years ago, things just need some time. I know we're ambitious, but we need some time for it to reach the levels we've seen in more developed markets.
So
if I want to add to that, I think, Wujud, you highlighted an important aspect, which is opening the channels for capital to flow. And I think if you want the ecosystem to be studied, we saw some changes when it comes to land tax. For me, it wasn't only about land with issues on rent and affordability, but it's also an issue of capital flow. If you tax a productive sector more than a less productive sector, you are nudging the capital one way that maybe is not the most optimal way. So if we take a look and make sure that the capital flows from within the kingdom and outside are heading to the things that create the most value, which is, I think, technology is main one of them, this will really create a different dynamism more than what we've seen. And I want to add to what James said. For Khwarizmi, we opened VC, PE, real estate, and many ask us, are you losing focus? For me, I'll go back to what Wujud said. what we have today here is unimaginable. What we've been going through in the kingdom is something none of us dreamt of. So it's a chance of having an opportunity. And it's not about de-risking or diversifying the exposure. It's about doubling down on a growing entity that will be a global hub.
Yep.
We already see opportunities for some of our startups with our PE clients or our real estate player wanting to use some of our tech companies. And we have a dedicated function in the VC value creation. Their job is only to do business development for the portfolio.
Great.
It's exciting times.
If I can add to Dr. Ibrahim, I think we came a long way in the ICT sectors, and e-commerce, fintech, and we have multiple IBOs as an ecosystem. But one area that still need to attract more quality opportunity, it's in the deep tech and biotech and AI and a few others. And I know the strategy and the ambition for the Saudi to be the hub, but without enough mass doing research and coming out to commercialize it, and without enough mass coming out of Saudi to build within the Saudi and have an exit, I think it would be difficult to see an exit soon in these sectors.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll just say one point, because I think the question was quite interesting. You mentioned, how can we make it a lot more internationally attractive to investors? I think the simple question that I want to answer is, if we want to be internationally attractive company, I think we need to start from the beginning, thinking about international business model and scale and actually attractiveness. If you only want to start with the kingdom, which I think all of us truly love, or UAE, or Egypt, or Pakistan, and later with the success, you suddenly want to think about, oh, I need to now replicate my Saudi model to UAE, to Egypt. Life is not that simple, and there are already many other competitors. So the reason I say, if we look at Turkey, to many of our other peers who make globally successful companies like Australia, they already have international scale in mind from the get-go. And I think our founders and investors, all of us need to have that in mind. A lot of the peers here, we are investing in the region, but we are global standard investors here. Founders, we don't need to have only the regional standards in our mind. I think we can start here, really be global. And a lot of our companies are actually getting there at the moment.
Okay. So if I ask an elastic question, if usually they talk about that we can unlock 1 trillion out of our ecosystem. In the coming 12 months, if I have from each of you a recommendation that we keep it in consideration, so we'll love to hear from you. If anyone want to share, we have 3 minutes, the last one. Okay.
Sure, happy to, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead then.
So happy to start. So if you want to focus on something for the next 12 months, I actually wanted to do something to happen more like a blockchain, but also AI. I do think, personally, I think our future is 2 things, AI and the blockchain. So if you have the intersection of that as part of your growth or your focus, I think you're going to be very, very well positioned.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just want to thank Shane because he just gave me another great idea. So literally tomorrow, I'm going to try to contact we have incubators around the region and the world, but we know a lot of other incubators. I really think we should put together an ecosystem that will support B2B companies across the ecosystem. So I'm going to try to take that one offline. What I would say is this, because one of the companies is, how do you de-risk it for investors? I think if you're serious about investing in startups, entrepreneurship, you have to do your homework. Because I don't think it's just about the company. Once again, I say many companies fail. It's not because there's something wrong with the company. It's because they don't have the support during their life cycle. So I think if you're going to invest in a startup system, entrepreneurship, you should do a little bit of research in that country. What are like the programs that the kingdom has done an amazing job, right? But what kind of regulatory programs exist? What kind of startup incubation do you have there? What are the companies like SparkLabs or others doing? You should research to understand what is the ecosystem that supports entrepreneurs.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much. If you want to add, Mr. Abdulaziz.
Not much to add. It has to be something around AI for sure. And on AI plus anything else, you
Exactly.
cannot.
Will
talk
make
about
our
that.
life easier.
So instead of adding to AI, I'll go to the other side of it, the boring side. I think we need transparency from the government. Transparency in regulation, transparency in taxation, transparency in business direction from the government side.
Dr.
Maybe
Abdulrahman.
plus transparency, alignment in aligning interest and incentives across the board. So we know where high risk worth taking for entrepreneurs and investors. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Abdulrahman. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate your enthusiasm and also all your insight you shared in this panel discussion. And also thank you for you as our audience for listening and participating and being at the end of this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.